Well, political arguments were put aside as 5 living presidents appeared together for yesterday's dedication of the George W. Bush Presidential Center. President Obama described his Republican predecessor as a good man, a leader who showed strength, resolve, and compassion. But many in the media just couldn't resist the chance to attack a favorite target. Jon Stewart last night calling the Bush Library the, quote, Hard Rock Cafe of catastrophic policy decisions, and saying any presidency would look good compared to that of Mr. Bush.
I'm sure, listen, if one of GW's kids becomes president in 2032 and somehow for no reason invades the moon, I'm sure we'll look back at W and go, you know, actually he wasn't so bad either. A lot less moon deaths than his presidency.
Well, his is a comedy show. On MSNBC, Rachel Maddow drawing a comparison between Bush's presidency and that ill-fated Carnival cruise where passengers were stranded for days with almost no working toilets. She says because people have short memories, they are booking Carnival cruises again, and in the same way, don't remember Mr. Bush's time in office. Last night on air, she said they are opening the George W. Bush Presidential Library to the public on the 10-year anniversary of the Mission Accomplished speech, which is either an inside joke or this is some kind of crisis management business school test of the poop cruise thesis that Americans really do have shockingly short memories. So let's get into the journalism analysis. Judy Miller is a Pulitzer Prize-winning investigative reporter and author. Rich Lowry edits the National Review. Both are Fox News contributors. Interesting that, you know, Jimmy Carter, who has not had a lot of nice things to say about the Bush administration, Bush 43, was very generous in his praise yesterday. So was President Obama, who basically built his entire first campaign on being the anti-Bush, but the media couldn't say very many good things about the president.
Yeah, well, the media scorned George W. Bush when he was in office, and you can still hear that note of scorn in a lot of the coverage. Although, according to, I believe, it was a Washington Post poll, President Bush's approval rating is now up at 47%. So you think someone who was asking him questions or covering this event might have brought that up. The networks didn't. And John, the phenomena Jon Stewart pointed out to is a real one. When we have a next Republican president, he will be scorned and hated by the media, and everyone will look back, well, why can't he be a compassionate conservative like that great statesman George W. Bush?
Yeah, the Fox News poll has Bush 43's approval rating 49%. When President Obama is at 52, I mean, pretty much within the margin of error, they're essentially tied.
Right. Well, the liberal media have basically explained this phenomenon by saying the American people have no memory. Thank you very much. Or there's another explanation, too, which is that, you know, looking back on it, perhaps the decisions are a little bit more complicated than we thought they were, but that explanation is one that you haven't heard a lot of. Lawrence O'Donnell opened his show, his segment on the Bush Library by saying, and now here's a little something about the memorial tribute to a man who doesn't deserve one. I mean, I think the American people don't like that kind of dissing of former presidents.
But maybe the MSNBC audience does. Let's turn to our coverage, the media coverage of the marathon bombing suspects and so forth. I want to get your take on whether the media have paid enough attention to who these guys are and what motivates them. This is what Tom Brokaw had to say on Meet the Press.
And I can tell you, having spent a lot of time over there, young people will come up to me on the streets and say, we love America, but if you harm one hair on the head of my sister, I will fight you forever. And there is this enormous rage against what they see in that part of the world as the presumptionists of the United States.
So I guess it's our fault.
Yeah, well, he went on to talk about drones in that interview. So the prior source of this blowback that we have with terrorists attacking us is supposedly that we're invading countries. Now it's not that we're invading them, it's that we have drone attacks. And the fact is, for the radical Islamists, there's no proper U.S. policy except for if we curl up and die, and we're never going to do that.
Exactly. That's part of the problem with the motivations examination. Yes, we can look a lot, and we should look at what would encourage or prompt the Sarnoff brothers to do this. But to begin a long exploration of why some people hate us out there, why Muslims hate us, and number one, they don't. Most are still trying to come here or have a positive view of America. But I really think it diverts us from what we should be looking at, which is how did this happen, why did it happen, who dropped the ball, and how can we prevent it again?
We are going to have to leave it there, but you can catch more with my Great News Watch panel. Fox News Watch runs this week.